Hello, Salon Sleuth fans. My name is Melissa, and my co host is Leslie. We decided we wanted to share our salon stories. We both have an interest in crime stories and a fascination with the psychic world. So settle in each week as we share another story with you. Who knows, you might even learn something.
I wanted to talk to you today about have you ever heard of the Mandela effect?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you some questions, and I just wanna see how you remember these, and I'll
Okay,
try to make them not leading questions, okay? And then let's talk about what we think the Mandela effect is or what other people think it is.
okay.
Okay, so let's see. Um, okay, Darth Vader, his famous line, what was it?
Absolutely. I actually know this is a Mandela,
Okay.
and I
Yeah.
probably will screw it up, but it's not Luke, I am your father. It is I am your father.
No, I am your father.
Isn't that what I
But
just said?
maybe.
It's
Yeah.
not everybody says
It's not
it's
like Luke, "I
Luke,
am your
I am
father."
your father,
Yeah,
but it's really I am your father.
yeah. Well,
Yes.
he says, "No, I am your father."
Oh,
Yeah,
no, I am
yeah.
your father. Okay. No,
Um,
I
okay, the peanut butter one, you know that one? Not Skippy, but there's another brand.
Jif.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I
so
don't think I
many
know that.
people used to think it's Jiffy.
Oh, and it's Jif
It's Jif. Do you remember as
because
Jiffy
of
peanut butter as
Skippy.
a child?
You know what? I thought it was Jiffy too, but that's because of Skippy.
Yeah, that could be, right?
I think I'm just combining the
The 2.
yeah. Because didn't I just say Jiffy?
You did, and then I was excited, and then, it's not, it's
But
Jif. Okay, so, I mean,
but
I
it
kinda
occurred
remember
to
Jiffy,
me.
but maybe you're right because of Skippy.
No, I think
Okay,
there is no Jiffy. It is
Jif.
Jiffy Lube. But I think because of Skippy, and I don't know which one came out first.
Yeah.
You're right, it's Jif,
Well, that makes
which
sense because there's a similar one where I never really thought of that.
yeah, but also Jif is just a bad name.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't think it means anything, but it sounds like a sweeper or something. I got my
Well,
Jif sweeper out.
but years ago, we didn't have sweepers, we had brooms. I mean, but is that what you
It could
mean?
have been a broom
Yeah.
or those little brooms with the little, you rolled them and it rolled the bar. Did you have one of those?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well,
Yeah.
kind of, like,
Get your Jif out.
yeah, that's funny. How about this? In Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, and the evil queen, and she goes in front of the mirror and she says
Oh, yes, I do know this is
yeah,
one. Because I had never heard of this until a couple years ago.
yeah.
We say it's mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? But I think she says mirror, mirror on the wall. I'm the fairest of them all, doesn't she?
She says, "Magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?"
Oh, magic mirror instead of mirror, mirror.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, and I don't know. Maybe that's I mean, maybe I we just all made it mirror, mirror. I don't know.
Here's my thing with these
Yeah.
things, and, this is sort of a funny segue story, but I am known in my family, and they make horrible fun of me, that I will combine 2 phrases, and let me just slow down here and get them right. So you've got, like, looking down the barrel of a gun, right? People will say that.
Yeah.
Then you'll say, something about the dog that bit you. There's another phrase about the dog that bit you or whatever. I will say, looking down the barrel of the dog that bit you,
That's hilarious.
or something about hitting the broadside of a barn. I will combine those those phrases, so that they're two sensical phrases, right? But I've combined them into one nonsensical phrase because almost like my brain is thinking faster, and so I think of two
Yeah.
that I could say,
Well,
and
and
then I
that's
put them.
really surprising from you because you're so like put together that it's surprising that you would make those sort of mistakes.
I know, and I
Which is
really
really
now
funny, which I
have.
make it makes you more human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really have to think about it, and, seat heaters? Is
What?
that right? Yeah. I wanna say heat seaters.
Oh,
So, like, in your car,
yeah.
I'll go, "Oh, yeah, turn on my heat seater."
Which kinda makes
This
sense too, but
this is why I think, like, I said last episode that we found out my son was dyslexic, and I really think that people in my family are as well, now that I look back at the signs and everything. But I think there's a little dyslexia in me because I say things like that all the time.
yeah, that makes sense.
And it's like my brain is working so fast, and
Yeah,
Eric will say something about it, and I'll be like, "Wait, what was wrong with that?
yeah,
Heat seater isn't a thing?" And I'm
yeah,
like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that's
that's funny.
that ain't right." Okay, so what else do you have?
Okay, Looney Tunes, how do you spell it?
Looney.
And then tunes.
Oh, is tunes part of it?
Yeah,
I'm guessing. I thought it was Tunes,
it is
but
tunes, like Tunes.
oh, okay.
But when you
I
look
was
at the logo,
overthinking it.
it kinda like, I feel like I remember the old one, but then I don't know, who
What
knows?
is it? What is it? What do people think it is?
They think it's loony with 2 O's and tunes with 2 O's,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's tunes like, iTunes.
Regular
Yeah.
tunes. Yeah, okay. I thought it was regular tunes, but then you were making me question that maybe that was the part of the Mandela effect that I was wrong.
No, you were right. Um, so
And loony, I feel like loony spelled weird too, but
yeah.
I
Okay,
just said
I
it was spelled
remember this
loony.
song, and you probably remember this song, but the Oscar Mayer.
Oh, yeah, that's
Okay.
spelled weird too.
Yeah. So do you remember the song? This is what makes it so confusing for me because I remember the song and never saying it the other way, but maybe I did. I don't know. Do you remember that?
Oscar Mayer.
My baloney had a first name, it's OSCAR. My baloney had a second name, it's MEYER. And if you ask me every day or whatever,
Everything.
um, why I'll say, because Oscar Mayer had a way with BLONGNA. But
Yes,
okay,
good.
so how do you spell Oscar Mayer?
See, I do know that this is one of them. I'm gonna just say what I think. I'm not gonna
Okay.
second guess it. Oscarmeyer.
But it's Mayer, and I would never I that was one that as a kid, I don't remember ever spelling it Mayer. Even with that song that I still remember.
Yeah, did you just say Mayer, or did you
No,
say
I said Meyer. Well, and I had a friend with a last name Meyer, but it was with an I instead of a Y. And so I'm like, am I saying it because of that? Like growing up, she was a good friend. So
No, I think that Meyer is typically ME, is it not?
I don't
Because that
know.
would be Mayer, like John Mayer.
Yeah. Huh.
I'm with you on that
Okay.
one. Actually, I'm with you on all of them. I
Yeah.
just have heard them before, so
Yeah.
I know that we screw them up a lot, and, my feeling is it just gets played and played and played, and so you can't distinguish reality from, what you've heard for so many years.
Right.
Because, well, isn't the other one the reason it's called the Mandela effect is because everybody thought he died in prison.
Right.
Now,
Yes, and
why
I'll get
did
into that a
everybody
little bit too. Let me go to some of these ones. I'm gonna see if you remember. Okay, did Curious George, did he have a tail or no tail?
no tail?
Okay.
Did he have a tail?
People remember him having a tail and then he didn't have a tail. Okay, Sex and the City. What's the
Okay.
that show?
Yes.
What's the actual title's name?
It's not Sex in the City.
It's "and the City." A lot of people would think "in the
Oh, it's
City."
Sex and the City?
Yeah.
No one says that.
Sex and the City, not Sex and the City.
They say Sex in the City, don't they?
I don't know. I've only watched that show a couple of times, and so that one was I that but that's why I brought that up as one I hadn't heard over and over.
See, I would say Sex in the City. I thought it was Sex in the City.
Sex and the City.
Sex
Okay.
in the City. I didn't think it was Sex and the City.
Okay, years ago, Publisher Clearinghouse. Do you remember, like, in the '80s, they
Yeah.
were doing all this stuff, you would see them all over. Do you
Yeah.
remember who the person was attached to that? Who was
Oh gosh. Yes, if you said it.
um, okay, if I say it, then I don't wanna be leading, but they would say people remember Ed McMahon and the
Yes, Ed
Publishers Co
McMahon.
so he was never a part of that. Like, it says Tonight Show sidekick Ed McMahon never made any such house calls. So sorry, he was part of it, but he didn't actually go to anybody's house with the big check.
What?
It says that he endorsed the American Family Publishers instead, which was a rival sweepstake promotion. Then again, McMahon did not appear on camera during the prize patrol for the sweepstakes.
What?
So there must have been 2 kinda competing at that same time, and like you with your sayings that you get mixed up, we
Yeah.
must have put those 2 together,
Yes.
right?
I think you're right.
Because sometimes,
Okay, so let's
yeah,
go back to that. Did people ever win those things?
I don't know. I think the company sold a lot of magazines.
Because didn't they get sued or somebody? Somebody recently, other than McDonald's, I know McDonald's was um, caught for their Monopoly game because they would only put out the certain winning ones that you had to find in certain locations regionally.
Oh,
So there's no way,
that
unless you
everybody.
stopped, yeah, all over the nation, you could win it.
Uh,
So they just lost a lawsuit about that.
yeah, crazy. Here's a good one. The Lindenberg baby. Was that ever solved?
No?
It was. So
No.
everybody was so focused on that, the whole thing that had happened, that nobody really like focused on that the fact that they found the toddler after 2 months and the kidnapper was caught and then sentenced to death.
Oh, wow.
But I just remember the whole thing about that, but you don't really remember what really happened
I
after the fact.
I feel like I was really young though. When was that? When did that
Oh, it
happen?
was 1932.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You must have
Then I
been
wasn't even alive.
you were either really old in another life or,
Yeah.
okay, how about this? This is the one that's really crazy because I remember sitting in class when this happened and watching it on TV in front of everybody. When did
Uh-oh.
the
The
Challenger
Challenger.
space shuttle explode?
Okay, I have had this argument
Ugh,
time and time again.
yes.
I swear to you that I was in the 7th grade hall of Brown Junior High. But they're saying historians, the internet is saying that it happened like my 9th grade year.
Okay, so it would have been either your ninth grade year or your 10th grade year because it was in 1986. And you're a
6.
year
Yeah,
older than me. And I remember being in middle school, but in
yeah.
1986, I was in high school and it happened January 28th. So technically, I would have been a freshman. You would have been a sophomore. You
No,
graduated in
I was,
89?
yeah, I was 89, but I thought 86 I thought I was in the 9th grade. Is that wrong? Let's see. I graduated in 89. So 88, I was a sophomore, junior. 87, right? I was a sophomore. Right. So 86, it was the January of my 9th grade year.
Okay, so that would
Because
make it right for me then because I was in or middle school.
yeah, you were 8th grade, but I swear to you, I was in the 7th grade hall, which sometimes as an 8th grader you would have classes in the 7th grade hall. But I don't ever as a 9th grader remember being on that side of the building. And that's what kind of throws me because I feel like I remember knowing that I was in math class and I was in the 7th grade hall. And I think that I had that math class in that classroom my 7th grade year, not my 9th grade year.
Ye
So I
yeah.
was confused by that too because I would have swore to you that it was more like
And we all watched it, like, live.
So what's the reason? Why do people get confused by that? Why is that a Mandela effect? Because other people are confused by that year?
Right, because a lot of people believe it happened in 84 or 85.
Shut up. That's when
Yeah,
I believe it happened.
it's really weird.
Why?
Well, let's go through a little bit more and then we'll go into why we think it happens and what we think is happening.
Okay,
Okay.
so wait a second though. That
Yeah.
one's really bothering me.
Yeah.
So did something else blow up in 84 or 85?
I don't know, but that
Are we
was a big deal because she was a teacher and all of us from the schools were
Yeah.
actually watching it on the TV that came in on the cart, right?
So what okay,
Yeah.
I have a real problem with this. Why is it then that I'm thinking the way everybody else is thinking and I like have a visual because I'm kind of photographic that way. Like I have visual
Yeah.
memories, not always like my husband is really good about going, "Oh, well, I was working for this company at the time.
Right.
So it was this year." I'm like, I have no clue. I can just tell you I was in this room
Exactly.
or this space or whatever.
Well, I think there's a term they call okay, wait, we won't go into that.
Okay.
Um, so a lot of people will actually start remembering like in groups like those same things, right? But let me see what let's see the unconscious interpretation or era regarding a particular memory. So it can happen when the brain is attempting to fill in the missing information in incomplete memories. And even though you remember something that you believed is to be true, the memory can be altered by emotional response or the details that have been added in later. And phenomenon is mainly the event of people who have suffered no, forget that part, but let's see the collective false memories. Let's see. So you may be bad at remembering dates in history and the fact that so many people also remember the same events that are wrong. According to psychological studies in 2016, about 88% of the US citizens asked to fill out an online survey about Alexander Hamilton and um let's see, the results of the survey showed that Hamilton was picked more than some of the actual US presidents, like Chester Arthur and Franklin Pierce. But um, Hamilton was never a president. He's just on one of our bills, right?
Right.
Let's see, why
Not
is
that it's a bill, but it's a
but he wasn't a president, but everybody remembered him kind of being a president only because they saw that so many times. Let's see what else they were saying. Okay, this is the part that gets kind of confusing, like multi-universe, alternate universes. Like if there are more than one timeline going on at the same time and they kind of go in and out of each other.
Mhm.
So maybe that particular timeline has things that aren't exactly the same as ours. So let's just say on one universe it's MEYER and then one
Okay.
is MAYER. They crossed, some things get stuck. Then okay, this is the part that I got really confused about. Like, okay, let's just say there are 2 universes right now, and they're exactly the same with slight differences, and we're going in and out of them, right? So there might be another one of you on this other one, right? And then you cross over and back and forth constantly. And then some things get stuck, or what if you got stuck on the other universe? So your mirror image is on the opposite with the MAYER.
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Okay. Let me just tell you, the fact that we're having this conversation right now is reminding me of dinner the other night, which is a carry on to our next show about past life regression.
Yeah.
So I start telling my husband and my son about these conversations that I've had with these practitioners and hypnotherapists, I guess they would call them. And they start telling me about this theory of side by side universes and that we're living these parallel universes and that how can there only be one universe and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just going to be real honest. It's all kind of going over my head. I can carry it a little bit, like I can understand it, but I go, yeah, that's way too far out there, even for me. And my son's sitting here telling me that, past lives and all this stuff is totally too far out there for him to believe. But I am like, no, this doesn't make any sense to me. So I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And yet I have a really hard time understanding that. And what I said to him, I said, well, what's your proof? Right. Which, because he'd been saying that to me about past lives and blah, 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 there's no proof. Right. I'm like, well, what's your proof of this? And he's like, well, there is no proof. And I'm like, okay, well, then how is this different than not believing in past lives? Like, how can you say that you can't believe in that? But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I I don't know what to tell you
Well,
about
it's
that.
kind of the same thing about when you have your intuition or is it a thought? What do you believe?
Yeah.
And the same thing with you. So when I watch oh gosh, what is that show with Morgan Freeman, Through the Wormhole, that show, have you seen that?
Oh, I don't
It's
think so.
really good, you should probably watch it, but same thing, I'll be listening and it's all good. He starts talking about, how there really is no time, and then all of a sudden, like, he says something and I'm completely lost. Like I was with it, I was going there, I can
Yeah.
follow along, and then all of a sudden, like, it's way above my head, and I'm like and part of my brain is like, "Bleh, I'm not doing this anymore." And, so I find it really hard to follow. But like you and me, in the beginning of thinking about past lives, that was really hard. And now we totally believe it.
Right.
So this is really hard. And it's hard for me, especially because I like to have like physical evidence. I want to be able to see and touch it and feel it and understand it. And this really makes no sense. But
Right.
how do you make sense of,
XRB hydraulic power unit
oh,
tab
Okay, I
T
just turned
minus
this on
21
because it
seconds.
says the Challenger disaster of 1984.
what? Let me go
No,
back.
but I don't think it's the same thing.
So is there another one maybe?
It says CNN footage of the Challenger disaster made notorious not just for the tragedy of the incident, but also for the extensive coverage paid to what would have been the first school teacher in space.
What?
Yeah. Yes.
It occurred on
I'm
January 28th, 1986. Well, maybe
okay.
um, this merchdope.com might be wrong, is where I got.
I have heard this before though.
Okay. Okay, here's
And when you
here's a
Google
good one
it,
for you. What color is chartreuse?
oh gosh. Um, Geez, this is a hard one. I'm gonna say it's like a pinky purple.
Okay. There is no explanation why so many people believe that chartreuse color is the magenta pink color. In fact, it is a shade of green. Okay,
Really?
so but here's a theory that I had about some things, and this could be for colors, let's just say. Let's just say you were born and I'm born, right? And I see something as green and you see it as red because that's how our brains see it, right?
Mhm.
Even though we're looking at the same color, let's just say grass. I see it as a green color. Maybe it's really red, but because your whole life you were taught that that red is actually green. Like who
Yeah, but okay, so I totally agree with you
Yeah.
because you and I could be seeing different colors
Right. Well, I
for
think
sure.
and like everybody could be seeing different colors, but we're all naming it the same because it's never changing. Like our
Right.
eyes won't ever really know if we're actually seeing the same thing everybody else is seeing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like everything in our world could be different colors than it actually is compared to everybody else. But because we know it as that name, it continues to stay that way. So I might be looking at something that's green, which could really be red in your eyes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So maybe
See, I was so when I was thinking about the whole chartreuse thing, I was going between green and this pinky purpley thing.
yeah. And I guess I never
So
really thought about what color that would be.
I think that that there's probably some confusion around that.
Yeah. Well, and I don't when would you ever use the word chartreuse? Isn't it
Oh,
just in a song or something?
fancy people use fancy words all the
Okay.
time.
I was just trying to think of whenever I would use that word and why I would refer to it as a color, or what was it
I
referred to ever as something else ever?
I think people use those color names all the time. I mean, in my business, when you're talking about
Yeah.
color, like, oftentimes sage is actually a greener color, as is khaki is actually a greener beige. But a lot of people will say khaki when they mean a tan.
Yeah.
So,
'Cause they're
I
thinking
know
pants probably.
exactly, they're thinking of khaki pants, but a khaki is really got a green base to it. So, I notice that with a lot of people. So, instead of saying sage or kind of a blue sage or whatever, I'll try to, like, go, "Okay, robin's egg blue," if I think that green will be too far of a jump for them. Like, they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't like green."
Yeah.
Robin's egg is one of those other things people don't know what robin's egg is.
Right.
Um,
I would think that
it
would be like a light blue, like a baby blue.
Yes, but it has some green base to it.
Okay.
So it's very complicated. Even
Yeah.
salmon, like salmon, salmon can be anything from the color of salmon to a really light pale pastel.
I do find that, like, in the salon when people want certain colors and they'll say something and I go for a color that I think would be like a salmon. "Oh, no, that's
Yeah,
too pink," or "That's too orange," or "That's" like, different variations,
yeah,
and I don't know.
yeah.
Have
I
you
noticed that with
have you ever seen
clients.
the movie Another Earth?
No.
And then okay, so I saw that a long time ago. It was really long and well, I probably wasn't long. It was just really slow. But always remember this movie because it was so you think it wasn't that good, right? But then it sticks with you forever. I probably saw this thing 10 years ago.
What was it called? Another Earth?
Another Earth, and it's about
Okay.
this girl, and, so this other Earth just shows up one day, and it's huge, and, she is driving along, and she's looking out her window after partying with her friends, out her car window as she's driving, and is staring at this other Earth, and she gets in this horrific car accident, and she wipes out, this other car and kills the mother and the child in it. The dad was also in the car. So, she has to go to jail, prison, whatever. And while she is incarcerated, there's this contest out where you can write a letter or some sort of you write something about why you should win this contest. And the contest was to get on a shuttle or whatever to go to the other Earth and see what's over there. And so she wrote this whole thing about, and she was honest about how she had made some bad decisions in her life. And she just wanted to see what was there to kind of start over. And so she gets out of prison, jail, whatever she's in, and she feels horrible about what she had done to that family. So she goes to the house just to look. She's looking in the windows, and the house is a mess. It's just like the poor guy just never made it through it. And, he comes out of the house and he's like, "Can I help you?" And she's like, "Oh, I just started working at this cleaning company and we're expanding and I wanted to know if that might be something you might be interested in. It's free, your first time's free." And he's like, "I'm not interested." And then she goes to leave. She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." She goes to leave and he opens the door back up and he's like, "You said free?" So he invites her in. And eventually, so she feels like she's going to take care of this man because she's totally destroyed his world.
Right.
And she spends all this time with him. And of course, he then starts to fall in love with her. And
Oh,
and now she
did
has to
she do
basically tell him who she is. And she does. And he's just pissed, as you can imagine. But she also wins this contest. And so she goes to him and he wants nothing to do with her. So she goes there one last time and she's like, "Listen, I won this contest." And he knew she won the contest because he didn't want her to go because he loved her, right?
Okay.
But then she knew she had to go because what she had done to him and he's about to freak out. So she goes to his house and she's like, "I don't know what's there. But if your oh god, I forgot the biggest part of the thing is they were in communication with the other Earth. The government was. And what they found was there are mirror images of the same people there. So the person doing the the communication to the other Earth
Yeah.
was her, the same communicator on this Earth. They were just talking to each other. Does that make sense?
Okay, that I think is what my son was trying to say
Yes, so
too.
there's this mirror image of this thing. So she says to the man, "I don't know what is there, but your family could be there." Although they're also gonna have another dad because there's a mirror image of him, right? So
Right.
she leaves him the ticket, right?
Oh, wow.
So a little bit of time goes by, and then the news footage of him getting on that shuttle because he's going to go see if his family's there. So she, of course, sees him go and everything. Then the last scene of the whole movie, she is walking down her driveway looking at her mail, and she looks up, and it's her mirror image right in front of her. Like that person had come here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's weird.
So I don't know. So I guess by putting it into two different worlds, it's a little easier to manage conceptually. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Versus having two intertwined universes going at the same time. Like that one that we can't see. Like, okay,
Right.
for example, there's a lady that works at, the club with us, and, her mom could see these things in her house, and they were spirits, right?
Okay.
And, so she would be in her living room, and if she looks over to her kitchen area, she could see these women coming into her house, and they were setting up like an old sewing machine, and they had these big things of fabric. You know how they have the big rolls?
Yeah.
Bringing them in, they were coming to work, like, it was like a store. And they were working and, doing stuff, and then occasionally they would, like, get eye contact, like, they could see each other, like, she could see her. And, this other time, her and her husband were sleeping in their, like, lazy boy chairs, but they had slept in each other's chairs, so they weren't in their normal chairs. So when she woke up, this woman is looking at her, and she's talking to her friend, and she's like, "Look," and there she was pointing to 2 of them, like, as if they had switched chairs. She's doing that with her fingers. So she could see them, and then she waves to her, and they freak out and they leave. And then another time, she
Wait,
was
this is the grandma that's
this
able
is
to do
yeah,
this?
so the lady that I work with, it's her mom.
Okay.
And then one time she was sleeping, and she wakes up, and one of them is leaning over her husband, right like by his face. And she said it looked like a nurse, like she was a nurse, like checking in on him.
Oh, wow.
He ended up passing away, probably 6 months
But not
after
that
that.
day.
Not
Or
that
6
day,
months.
but 6 months or so afterwards. But it was interesting because they could see her, they were interacting with her. So could that have been the parallel they were crossing?
Weird.
Because if it I mean, I guess it could just be a spirit in the house that could
Yeah.
see, that was still.
Could be his loved ones or something. Th're worried about him because they know he's not well. So they're
Yeah, but why
checking in.
are they coming in, like, setting up shop in their kitchen?
Well, as Renee said, they have things to do.
It was just kind of like, yeah, I guess
Remember Renee
there's
said
different
they're
kinds
not.
of ghosts. I always think of them as more like, they say like a movie where they just keep recycling the same. You see one out of the corner of your eye. Okay, so then Melissa, what about if, all the times that we see ghosts, could it just be a parallel universe? When you
Right?
see the flash out of the corner of your eye, could that just be a moment where they touched?
True, I don't
I
know.
know.
These are beyond me. These things I have a really hard time with because
Trust me,
I
I
think
believe in
that
ghosts. This whole other thing is really hard to understand, but I was,
yes,
for, like, entertainment purposes, talking about it
correct.
and just, like,
It's interesting.
exploring it a little bit, like, what does that mean?
Okay, so this was the other question that
Yeah.
came up at dinner after talking about past lives. Because, my son who's just not into this and just doesn't believe, so my husband's saying, "Okay, wait, let's back up. If energy if you can't get rid of energy, like if something dies, there's energy around that. And so what happens to that energy?" And one of the things that came up was where does that energy go? Does it just die or does it move on to something else, right? And so that's where people speculate that the spirit goes, right, with that energy. And my son says, no, it just dies. It just goes into the ground, whatever. Well, but so then they said, well, how can past lives be true? Because what about population growth? If you only have so many spirits and we keep populating the world more and more, how do you have enough spirits to do this? And I was actually researching some of this stuff, and someone says, "Well, what if the spirits, or they were saying, they weren't saying what if, they were saying that spirits can split. So if one person has the goal of, becoming more patient in this lifetime, and the other person has a goal of finding love, and when you're up in the spirit world, you can't decide what your main goal is, you split your spirit and you become twins."
We talked about that.
Oh, did we? Okay,
Yes.
so I wasn't researching that. You and I were discussing.
Yes, so
Okay,
we did talk about that, but at the
okay,
same time, where do the spirits come from originally anyway? It had to start somewhere. So maybe it doesn't have to, like, we're not just recycling the same ones. There could be new forms of energy,
right.
right? Because then, like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Because how, like, why wouldn't a new spirit form? I mean, I don't know how that works. Because I see what he's saying, where just like you have 100 cars and you're recycling the same 100 cars, right?
Right.
But then why couldn't somebody make a new car? And now all of a sudden we have 101 cars that want to come through.
Well, this was the same discussion that they started off on the tangent at the dinner table
Yeah.
about how if we have one universe, why wouldn't there be more
Well,
universes?
there is. There's no way that we're the only planet that has this.
No, not planet. No,
Oh,
no, no,
universe.
no.
Well, within that universe.
Universe. What's that?
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know.
No,
Like I'm like, if it goes forever and ever, couldn't there be multi universes within one outer space?
so there.
Is it
No.
important
So
here's a
the
who,
universe
like
is
that
the bigger
movie?
thing. So that's what I said. I said, "Are you talking about like our universe, like the Milky Way?" And they're like, "No, no, bigger than that." Like, what do you think happens after the black space? And I'm like, "Well, there's just more black space." And they're like, "Really? It's just endless? Like, couldn't there be multiple black spaces?"
Yes.
I'm like, "You know what? That is way
This
too
is too
far,
much.
too much for me." Like that is beyond my.
Well,
I don't even know if that's quantum physics. I don't even know what you call that. That's so complex.
it makes me feel really small.
I know. And really stupid as my son and husband are able to like have this conversation. I'm like, dude, you guys lost me like at universe.
Yeah.
Well, and they're all into the black holes and everything.
So what
And
do
I'm
they
like,
say about the black holes? What is that exactly?
oh God, don't get them started.
Okay.
I mean, I can't even.
Well,
I
it's
couldn't
just
believe
outer
it.
space.
Maybe we'll have him on and we'll have a 21-year-old's view of this whole conversation
Yeah. That would be great, actually.
because he actually loves this stuff
Yeah.
and he would talk your ear off about it.
Ugh. Well,
Yeah.
I just watched the movie Mandela Effect, and then you should watch Another Earth
It's a movie?
because those are interesting.
Okay, I didn't know there was a movie on that.
Yeah, it's called The Mandela Effect. I just watched it
Oh,
because it is um, it's more like you're just a
pawn.
player in a game kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Well, okay, so
So
long
that's what I'm
pause.
saying, like with the whole past lives that you're about to go into. By doing that, you don't want the leading questions, right? You just have to be really careful
Right.
of that because you don't want to create a false memory, as in like the Mandela effect.
Right.
It
That
just, I
makes
want
sense.
it to be genuine. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today, was going into this whole new realm. And they're the experts. They know what they're doing and they've done this before. So I don't doubt that
Well,
they
I'm going
won't.
to record
Well, you are you not?
them. Yeah, yeah, I'm totally
Well,
going
and then we'll be able to um look at the questions that they're asking you and how you're responding to see if, that matches, because I think it's really important not to lead in questions because all of a sudden they're like, "Well, yeah, maybe."
Yeah. Well, that does happen,
Yeah.
unfortunately, as you and I watch all this stuff.
Well,
If
that's
it
why I thought it was important to talk about this today, moving into something that could affect you or us later.
Well, I'm actually kind of excited about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so weird. Well, and then the Bernstein Bears.
Oh, yeah, it's Berenstein, right?
Stain. Berenstain.
Yes. Didn't I say that? Berenstain?
Yeah,
Beren
maybe.
Berenstain, yeah. I did know that
Um,
one.
I don't remember that, but I'm like, that's kind of weird because I think I would have remembered
Oh,
that.
well, when I heard that, I went and pulled all the books because we
Yeah.
have those books in my.
Yeah. But what if at that point you just changed over to the other universe that had the right one or
uh,
the different one?
I'm gonna Google, why do people think the
Which means you might not really be with your husband that you married because you're in another universe.
I could be married to my son?
No, no, you're still married to your husband.
Oh,
It's just in the other world.
what? Well, then, am I married to him in both worlds? This one's okay.
Well, does he okay, this is a way you can tell if it's your real husband. Does he remember the Berenstein Bears or the Berenstain Bears?
See, this is the problem, is because we had this conversation.
Okay. So you're gonna have to test him.
Yeah,
Because if he remembers it the same way then you did, then you both transferred over at the same time.
except that we've had this conversation. Who
The thing
knows?
is, you wouldn't really know because he's the same person, and you're the same person.
You're so
There's just no,
confusing.
I know.
This
It's
is
really
like
stupid. I don't even why I'm having this conversation.
way beyond my headspace, I gotta tell you.
You know that stuff that you when you make a mistake on your paper and you have to use that little
Whiteout?
stuff to yeah, how do you spell it?
What? Are you gonna tell me whiteout isn't spelled like whiteout?
I don't know.
Did
How do
you
you
say
spell it?
white? WHITE, out. OU?
WITE. Out. See, you're in the wrong universe.
What do you mean? There's no age? No, there's no age. I have a bottle of that. Should I get it out? I mean,
Well, if it says white, WITE, you're in the other universe again. Because I remember it the other way. So I'm in the same universe as you.
okay, I have a bottle of it right here, and it's WITE.
Okay,
Oh,
C3PO?
but here's the thing. In the corner,
Yeah.
upper corner, it says white with a
Um,
H. But that doesn't really make me right. But
are you a Star Wars fan?
well, okay, so we do need to have a little COVID talk because I wanted to do an intro of COVID talk, but we'll do it. You can rearrange this if you want.
Okay.
So we have been watching all the Star Wars because my daughter and her friend, again, the one friend that we let over during this whole COVID thing, had never seen any of the Star Wars movies. So we actually started watching them all, and we watched them in the order in which, not in the order in which they came out, but in the order in which they were supposed to be, like chronologically.
Yeah.
So yes. So what's your point about Star Wars?
C3PO. What color is he?
He's gold. No, he. Well, okay, but there's two. There's a gold and a silver. I think he's. I don't know. I think he's silver.
Okay, in the old ones, let's say. I don't know. I'm not sure which one they're referring to, but is he all one color?
I don't. I don't know. I want to say yes, he is. I'm going to go with my gut and not overthink it and not change my.
So, according to this Mandela effect thing on merchdope.com,
Okay.
um, he is all gold except he has a right leg that is silver below the knee.
But then they had. I don't know. Yes, I think that's. I don't know. I have to look it up. I think that's.
And then the Tom Cruise risky business famous
Oh
dance.
yes, he does not wear glasses, and he.
No, but he does in the picture on the poster.
Yes,
So I think that's when I can see how people that might get that confused.
you should say that one because I kind of cut you off.
Oh, you
Just
want me to say it again?
well, just say what the theory is. People think that when he does that intro, when he comes out in the underwear and the dress shirt, that he's wearing black sunglasses, those Ray Bans, but he's
Right.
actually not. He doesn't have sunglasses on at all. But on
Right.
the cover of the movie,
The
um,
movie poster, he is
yeah,
wearing the
he's
sunglasses.
wearing the sunglasses.
Okay, what you should know this one because I would know this one. The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh,
The
yeah.
famous thing that Anthony Hopkins says to Clarice. Do you
About
remember?
the lotion?
No, puts the lotion on its skin or it gets the hose again. No, hello, Clarice.
Yeah, I know that one's not right either.
No, he just says, good morning.
Good morning. Oh, really? That's so boring.
Good morning, Clarice.
Oh, he does say Clarice, though?
Well, let's see. He says the reason the misconception is Hannibal Lecter uses every time he says the name Clarice, which is probably stuck in most everybody's memory. So he just says good morning, but because he always says her name, people just kind of put them together.
Yeah.
And instead of saying good morning, Clarice, he says, or we think he says hello, Clarice.
Plus, also because if I said to you, hello or good morning, you're not going to know. But if I said, hello, Clarice, then you're going to know I'm referring to Hannibal Lecter.
Right. Hello, Melissa.
You wouldn't know otherwise. So some
Right.
of those things, I think, like even with the risky business thing, like if I wore a dress shirt and underpants and socks, you'd go, "Oh, interesting." But if I put the glasses on, you'd be like, "Oh, that's risky business." I mean, I think
Well,
now,
it's really hard because everybody remembers Hello Clarice, even though it wasn't in the movie. So
yeah,
is it because we all started using it? But how do so many people use that same phrase when we didn't have things like TikTok or Instagram or any of that? How does it get spread to the point where everybody can relate to that saying that wasn't actually a saying?
I don't know, but the same thing would be true of the Star Wars thing. If I said to you, "No, I am your father," you
Yes.
might get it. Like,
Right.
okay, I can kind of see where I got the voice, right? But if I say, "Luke, I am your father," you're gonna know I'm doing a Darth Vader impression.
Totally. But why is that? Like, we didn't have everything that we had back then. So how does the wrong thing get said and related to because if we always said, "No, I am your father," we would remember that even then. But so how do we all remember something that wasn't there? In a time frame where it was just newspapers. We didn't even have email back then. You would actually have to call people.
That's a good question. I don't
And
know.
so how does, like, everybody in I mean, I don't know if they watch that movie in other countries, but here in the United States, how does ever remember "Hello, Clarice" when it actually wasn't said?
And it wasn't even hello, it was good morning, Clary.
Yeah, sorry, you're right. But no, how does "Hello, Clarice" get, like, spread throughout the whole United States when that's not what he actually said?
I don't know.
Like, how do we all remember that?
I do not know.
But we're remembering something that wasn't. It's just like
There
it was like the telephone game.
there weren't even memes.
We didn't have anything like that. There's so how did something way back then get spread?
Okay, so
Because,
here's
like,
what I
right
think.
yeah.
This is sort of a side note to this, but I think we need to get to the bottom of this Challenger disaster thing, because I think that is like, I hate to use his phrase,
God,
but
I even remember her name. Do you remember her name?
wasn't it Susan?
Krista McAuliffe.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah. The later one was Susan, wasn't it? She
I
wasn't the
don't know. I'm
teacher,
gonna
but it was
Google that.
because I just sent you the link of CNN Live,
Yeah, I
and
saw
it
that.
says 1984, but everything says 1986. So, but see, then I see in some of these links, I see 1984's popping up. I'm gonna have to do some research on this because I am perplexed by
So
this.
she died January 28th, 1986. Was there another teacher that died in 1984?
I don't know. I need to research this one. This one annoys me because I want to feel validated, and I'm a right fighter, so
If you'd like to be on our show and ask Suzanne a question or two about your career, your love life, or family, please contact us on our website at www.salonsleuth.com. We take calls the first Monday of the month. For a full appointment with Suzanne, go to her website. Thank you.